Hello and good evening to you all. My name is Shashank Singh and I am here to take up another session of Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper analysis. Here we have taken up important news and articles from The Hindu, Indian Express and Business Line newspaper and have segregated our discussion in two parts, that is mains. For mains we have taken up three news articles, that is reforms in power sector, the ongoing turmoil in Middle East and the perspective of India regarding all these developments. Third is the Inter Services Organization Act, which was notified by the central government. From the prelims perspective, we have taken up four news articles. First is based on Model Code of Conduct. Second is based on World Migratory Bird Day. Third is based on UN membership. And fourth is based on Launch Vehicle Mark III. So let us begin our discussion with the main section of today's session. And the first news which we are going to take up today is inspired from this news article which featured in the Business Line newspaper, page number 6. Now, as you can read here, the article is titled as Unfinished Tasks in Power Reforms. Now, this article basically highlights the developments or the achievements of NDA government, basically the last 10 years development in power sector. And it also highlights some challenges which are still there, which is kind of acting as a hurdle to harness the full potential of power sector in India. Now, from your examination perspective, if you will look into GS paper 3 syllabus, infrastructure has been mentioned, for which energy is an important part. Now, if you will refer to previous year questions, there are questions from energy security and energy sector. The nature of the questions are pretty specific. Like they have asked a question about solar energy, then energy security as a whole and India's energy policy cooperation with West Asian countries. Further, it has asked the scarcity of fossil fuels and the relevance of atomic energy in that sense. So, all these topics have been covered in previous sessions of DNS. So, what we are going to take up today, we are going to discuss the finding of this article along with some challenges that are concerning for the power sector in India. So, as you know, as of today in 2023, in its reply to the Lok Sabha, government claimed that the present the capacity of the power generation stands at 428 gigawatt. Now, India is one of the largest producer as well as user of power in the world. So, if you can imagine that the our target is to grow our economy, and we are a growing nation in terms of population also. So, this demand is going to increase. Further, if you will add with the target of shifting towards the energy transition, that we have a target of around 500 gigawatt by 2030, which should be based on renewable energy resources. So things become complex and challenging also. Yes, there are prospects, there are possibilities, but revamping the capacity, improving the capacity, increasing the capacity to this extent would pose some challenge also. So as you know that most of the, if you will go by the division that which source is producing how much energy in India, still fossil fuels are the dominating factor, contributing to around more than 50% of energy. And if you will go particularly alone, coal alone accounts for around 49 to 50% of the total power production matrix in India. And what is our target? Our target is to achieve 50% by renewable energy, though we are moving at a faster pace, but there are some challenges. And that is what this article highlights, that we have achieved so many milestones, but still power sector is struggling to get the complete mileage of whatever the potential is. So before moving to the challenges, let us see what article has highlighted as as an achievement. So first it says that average availability has increased both in rural and in urban area. For rural areas, the average availability of power is 22.5 hours now, while for urban area it is 23.8 hours. Now these are based on the findings of the government data. Further, the according to government data, AT&C losses, the transmission losses have also come down, and the health of the discoms, that is distribution companies, have also improved. Further, the transmission part, there is a generation part where power is generated in a plant, particular plant. Then there is a transmission, there are transmission lines which are very vital for power to reach to the destination, the consumer level. So there is 64.48% increase in the transmission network in last 9 years. What is very impressive is the inter-regional capacity to transfer, which has grown by around 224%. But still, as the article suggests, that there are certain challenges. We will discuss the challenges listed in the article after having a look at the general challenges which is affecting our power sector. The first is challenges in fuel supply. Now you have seen that is we are still around 50% of our power generation is dependent upon the coal, and the total out of total installed capacity as of now. So there are challenges related to availability. If you can recall, UPSC has also asked a prelims question based on the import of coals from Australia. So it is the issue of availability is there. We don't have the high grade coal in India. Now we have, but in a very limited quantity. So availability is an issue. Whatever the amount which is available to us is not adequate. And second thing is, the if you will just exclude the plants which are situated nearby the coal producing area or coal producing mines, most of the coal is being transported through railways. Now it involves time, more so it involves delays, which affects the costing altogether, which makes the process expensive for the plants which are not located nearby the mines. Second thing is, you might have heard that in peak summer season, last year and last to last year, there were issues about the stocks of coal with the thermal power plants, which was very low. So again, the accessibility, availability, and transportation makes it very difficult for the thermal power plants to operate. Recently, the new phenomena, that is lowering of water in the reservoirs, which is covered in previous DNS session. Now, thermal power plant, it is very important to have a good and sufficient supply of water. But again, the reservoirs are emptying, and they are at a very low capacity of, again, whatever their capacity is, whatever the desired adequate number, they are operating below it. So if you will combine this coal and water, the running of the thermal power plant becomes very difficult. This is the first, and these are the mainstay of our energy security as of now. Second is the issue of open access. Now, what is open access? Now, open access is it's kind of making life easy for heavy users. Heavy users, you can understand that those who require more than 1 megawatt of load supply or power supply. Now, to make it seamless and easy for them, government came up with open access notification. Now what happens here, that these heavy users, can purchase the electricity from open market. Now, what is open market? See, they are not forced to buy from a particular vendor or a producer. There are multiple private vendors, there are multiple vendors in the market. They can make a deal with any one of them at the cheapest price or the best possible price which suits their plans, and they can buy it from open market. So there is no they are not forced to buy from a particular vendor, but uh, they are free to choose from the available vendor. This is open market, open access. Now, problem is that these things are regulated by the Electricity Act of 2003, and there are two component of it. First is inter-regional, like you are located in one state and the seller is located in another state. So in that case, the regulation which is applicable is the Central Electricity Regulation Committee. And when you are doing business in state itself, that is intra-regional, then State Electricity Regulatory Commission regulation will be applicable to you. Problem is, center has notified the open access, but several states have not finalized the various charges. It is still pending there. So again, what was intended to make kind of creating ease of business, environment of ease of business, and health of the producers, many states have not finalized the rates yet. Another issue is the financial health of discoms. Right now we said that it has improved, but still there are problems. Now, still there are unmetered consumptions. Plus, these discoms are not very efficient in collecting the fees or the bills. Thirdly, the infrastructure itself is outdated and lagging behind what is required. So all these things combine to affect the financial health of discoms in an adverse manner. They have continued to do so. Another is the high transmission and distribution losses. Now, this is a global phenomena. If you are transmitting high voltage electricity from generating station to consumer, it is bound to face some kind of transmission losses. This is fact. As of now, the level of technology that we have as of today, there are going to be transmission losses. Problem is, in developed countries, this loss ranges between 6 to 10%, while in India, even after lowering, it ranges in 22 to 23%. Around one fourth of the produced electricity gets wasted in transmission losses. This is the problematic part. Another issue is under procurement by states. Now, states are not procuring what they have committed in power purchase agreement. Another issue is there have been instances where states have unilaterally cancelled the power purchase agreement in favor of some cheaper agreement. So in this way, it becomes demotivating factor for a producer company, for whether it is PSU or whether it is a private company, because there is no assurity of any regard. Whenever a state will get a cheaper deal, it will unilaterally cancel the power purchase agreement, and that particular company will be in lurch. Now, another issue is related to coordination. Now, as you know, the power generation is not just limited to the Ministry of Power. There are several ministries: Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Ministry of Power, Ministry of Coal, then Ministry of Petroleum. Above all, Ministry of Environment is also involved in various aspects of these development. So this multiplicity of ministries, plus when you will add different agencies from center to state level, intra-state level, interstate level, all these things make matter complex. And there is no uniform policy or you may say action which is required. So there remains coordination issue. What we have seen here in this point, that is state will unilaterally cancel out the purchase agreement. So there is lack of coordination which is hindering the power sector as a whole. This is these are the challenges in general. Now let us see what this article has to say, but before that just have a look at this image, then you will have a better understanding what this article has to say. Now this is a generating station, a power station. Now it will transfer electricity to a step up transformer which will raise the voltage for transmission, high voltage transmission line. Now this part is transmission line. Now again you will get a step down transformer to bring down the voltage, and it will distribute it to various consumers, like those who need 33 kV, 11 kV, and then the households like 230 volt that we require. So very important part is that this step up transformer, the substation, the first substation should be located nearby the generating plant. Now this article says that since we are targeting 50%, or you may say 500 gigawatt from renewable energy by 2030, it is very important to have these substation nearby the producing plant. Now, article says that Ministry of Power constituted a high-level committee to identify the transmission related issues from renewable energy. Now, this committee identified some pockets in India which are very suitable for renewable energy, namely Rajasthan, Ladakh. Further, if you will go, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Maharashtra, and Karnataka, and there are many more. But these points, the renewable energy, you may say, the centers that this committee has identified are mostly located in secluded location, like they are far away from the population. Now issue is to establish a substation there only. Now that poses a challenge, that how would you take out the generated power from such secluded locations? So these are the challenges that this article highlights. First is evacuation of renewable energy, because we are also considering the 10 megawatt from offshore plants in Tamil Nadu and Gujarat. So evacuation of renewable energy, that you have produced something, but how do you evacuate that produced power? It is the first and foremost challenge. Second is there is dominance of PSU in transmission infrastructure, which deters private players due to mismatched return requirements. That coordination issue that you have learned in previous slide. Again, another issue is related to the transmission and grid is connectivity to the grid, and most of the states have not upgraded their grids. Second last point is the land availability and potential litigation issues, like the case in mobile towers. So is the case with the substations, transmission towers, etc. There are issues of land availability and litigation, and again this thing still remains a problem because we are wasting a quarter of our production, around a quarter of our production. So according to article, the only solution lies in the infrastructure upgrade from state to the central level, and a uniform participation of all the stakeholders, from central government to discoms to producers and to the state governments. So that brings us to the second topic of today's discussion, which featured on page number 16 of the Indian Express newspaper. And as you can read here, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and churn in the Middle East, the view from India. So this article talks about what is going on, the current developments in the Middle East, and how India is going to be affected and why it is important for us. For the obvious reason of your syllabus, that bilateral, regional, global groupings and agreements involving India or affecting India's interest. So this part is relevant from this perspective. As you can see, UPSC in 2023 has asked a question based on NATO and US Europe strategic partnership. That how it will work well for India, and you have to give your opinion regarding the same. So let us take this topic. Now, in this slide talks about the background, the interest of US, stand of US, all those things, and this part talks about the Indian scenario. So what is the background? What has happened? What is why there that turmoil word has been used? Now it is again the recalibration of policy by the US. Now it has two things. First is that US is in deal with Saudi Arabia for a mutual bilateral strategic agreement. Secondly, US wants to help Israel against its conflict that is going on against Hamas and Iran. So US wants to recalibrate its strategies, and through this, that is first the defense ties, the defense agreement. Second is how to help Israel. And according to this article, that this entire, you may say, the aim of US, the plan of US is hanging on two pillars. First is US is very keen to have control over, or you may say oversight over, the civil nuclear program of Saudi Arabia. Secondly, US also wants a commitment from Saudi Arabia to not to shift from dollar to Chinese currency of yuan in pricing of oil. So if US gets these two things, this deal is going to see the uh, it is going to be the reality in future. But if any of these things will not be there, this deal may see some kind of hurdles. Now, what is the significance? Why US want this deal to happen now, and why US is pushing for that the oil pricing should not be shifted to yuan from dollar? The simple reason is the challenges at home turf for President Biden, where he is going for re-election, and a huge mass of population in US is against the US support to Israel. So US want to broker a peace deal between Israel and other Arab countries, and particularly uh, wants to stop Israel from going on, like continuing the war with Hamas, which in turn taking toll on Gaza and people of Gaza and Palestine. So the masses, the voters are against Biden, so it is affecting his prospect, and any brokered peace deal will ensure his re-election to as a US president. Second is the reason. Second reason is the geopolitical, where in 2023, China just gained a huge clout in the region. How? China brokered a peace deal between Saudi and Iran, the arch enemies since ages. So China brokered a peace deal with between Saudi and Iran in 2023. So somehow USA was losing its clout or presence in this region. So kind of US wants to reassert its position and wants to reestablish itself in this region as a major player. Now, this all will depend upon the other two regional players, important regional players, that is Saudi Arabia and Israel. until and unless they will not come to the truce, or they will not to a conclusion which is the guarantee of peace in the region, all these efforts of US are still doubtful to occur. Now, for India, why it is important, these developments are important. First of all, the re-establishment of US is much better than when you will do the comparative analysis vis-a-vis China's presence in that region. That is the first thing. Now, India shares, after 30 years of diplomatic tries and hits and tries, India has been able to establish a good connection between major countries in the Middle East. Just for example, if you will see the India Saudi relation, the bilateral trade lies at around $53 billion. For Saudi Arabia, India is second largest trade partner, and for India, Saudi is fourth largest trade partner. And we all know, in the previous topic we saw energy security, the relationship between Saudi Arabia and India is centered around the energy security, as Saudi is the third largest supplier of petroleum, the crude petroleum and gas to India. Apart from this, the Saudi led this Saudi Public Investment Fund Saudi Public Investment Fund has invested around $4 billion in various Indian startups. You might have heard the name of Oyo, Ola, Grofers. All these have taken help, or they have the Saudi investment is a big role to play in their rise and growth. So Saudi Arabia and India's relations, if you will see from the economic perspective, it is very healthy and it is growing. So a stable Middle East is again in favor of India. Second, India Israel. You know that after all the reservations, recently India Israel relationships are growing leaps and bounds. And you can understand this with, in 1992, the bilateral trade was at around $200 million only. Now, if you will exclude the defense trade, the present day trade between Israel and India stand at around 11 billion. And these figures does not include the defense. And out of this 11 billion trade, 8 billion, the value of $8 billion is being exported from India. So this trade is in favor of India. Second, the contours that the central point or pivot between India Israel relation is the high tech defense technologies, the cooperation in the field of agriculture, micro irrigation, all those things. So India Israel relations are again going in a forward direction. And if you will talk about the region, if you have to talk about the prospects and challenges, first thing that India has achieved in recent year, that it has been able to decouple its foreign policy from its domestic politics. Now, domestic politics is not defining what should be the foreign policy of India. More so, it is true in case of Israel India relation. Now, domestic politics is not interfering in establishing the good positive relation with Israel. So, this is a major achievement which should be continued. Secondly, the trade aspect you have seen, the regional groupings like I2, U2, India is an active member. Further, in G20 summit, India proposed, and there was a memorandum of understanding over the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. So India is not a direct player in brokering the peace or arranging some stability, but India's interest and India's initiative are more or less in line with what these Middle East countries need and want. So these are the prospect, but the recent Israel-Hamas conflict has worked as kind of roadblock in all these developments. So all the major players, global players, let's say USA, Russia, China, India, or European Union, as well as the regional player like Iran, Saudi Arabia, Israel, UAE, all are kind of trading through a complex geopolitical terrain. So nothing concrete can be said that what lies in future. But again, if this deal is brokered between USA, Saudi Arabia, definitely it is more favorable for India to proceed with its growing trade and connectivity with the Middle East region. Now, here is a practice question for you. Try to attempt this question and let us know your answer in the comment box below. And at last of this discussion, we will take up the discussion on this question also, and we'll give you our answer. Question is about which of the above countries are signatories to the proposed India Middle East Europe economic corridor. You have been given option of USA, Germany, Qatar, UAE, Italy, and United Kingdom. So that brings us to the last topic of mains discussion, which is based on the Inter Services Organization Act of 2023. Now, Government of India has notified this Act of 2023 in its gazetteer. Not very important from the mains perspective, just we have taken up just to make you understand what has changed, what was the situation, why there was a need to bring such act. And from your GS paper 3 syllabus, it is important from this point of view that various security forces and agencies and their mandate. So you know that Indian military is focusing on a reorganization or a planned modernization where integrated theater commands are going to be created. But problem with these integrated commands were that there was no legal framework, and there was one major issue that commander in chief of these integrated command, let's say you might have heard about the Andaman and Nicobar integrated command. Now all the tri services of Indian armed forces, that is Air Force, Navy, and uh, army, they work in unison in these integrated command, and there would be one officer who will be the commanding officer of this command. He may be from Air Force, Navy, or army. So what used to happen that these commanding officer, they could not exercise disciplinary and administrative power over personnel who come from different branches of armed forces, namely army, navy, or air force, because because their conduct was regulated by the individual acts of these forces like Army Act, Navy Act, and Air Force Act. Now, what used to happen if a commanding officer wants to initiate a disciplinary action, this serving officer in the integrated service command need to be reverted to their respective parent service units for disciplinary action. So if a person from army was drawn in this integrated command, he had to be sent back to the army unit, the parent army unit, for disciplinary action. This was very complex and delayed process, and this was a major hurdle in the administration. So Government of India came up with the Inter Services Organization Command, Control and Discipline Act of 2023. Now, it is an enabling act. It will not change anything. It is purpose is not to change in existing service act rule regulation, because when you are serving in your parent units, you will be governed or regulated by your respective act. But what will change that now commander in chief or officer in command will be empowered by the central government with all disciplinary and administrative powers in respect of personnel serving or attached to their inter-services organization. So now the personnel is not needed to be sent back to the parent unit. The commanding officer, who is designated by the central government, he himself can initiate the disciplinary action and he can take the administrative decision also. So this thing has changed with this act, and this is going to certainly help the creation and modernization of armed forces and creation of integrated commands. So that's all from the perspective of prelims discussion, mains discussion, and let us move to the prelim section. Now, first question is based on this news article which featured on page number 6 of the Hindu newspaper. Now, this news article talks about that since elections are going, all the big leaders and big names of various political parties are garnering or gaining limelights for all wrong reasons. They are flouting the model code of conduct, and this has been a matter of debate the for those political researchers and journalists, that how the model code of conduct is being flouted. So UPSC has been asking question based on various aspects of election, basically the RPA Act, the provisions or the eligibility to vote or to become a minister. As you can see in 2020 itself, they have asked a question about the what is the eligibility to become a minister and RPA Act. So we have taken up a question based on model code of conduct, and you have to identify the correct statements. Now, what is model code of conduct? It is a set of guidelines. It is set of guidelines given by the Election Commission of India. So it is just a guideline that spells that how a candidate and a party should behave, or what should be the conduct of these candidates and the party, so that free and fair election can be conducted by the election commission. So this is a guideline, this is no rule, and you can see here that it has no backing as such, like no constitutional backing or statutory backing to it. But when it comes into force, immediately when the election dates are declared, so election commission will come up with the declaration of dates, and the moment it declares the date, and model code of conduct is comes into force immediately till the results are announced. Okay. Now, what does it involve? See, first thing, that the very basic thing is that no political party or state, they should not use its official position for campaigning. Now, what is official position? As a minister, you can announce some schemes, you can announce some benefits, you can promise some waivers and all those things after election dates are announced. So you cannot use that political position. So no policy, project or scheme can be announced. Okay, the party must also avoid advertising at the cost of public expenditure. Fine. So these are the basic directives or guidelines. And as we told, it has no statutory backing. Uh, we know that it is not a provision which has a legal backing or a statutory backing, that you will punish someone, you will fine someone. No, nothing like that. So if anybody is breaching the model code of conduct, it cannot be proceeded against under any clause of the code. Everything is voluntary. The EC uses moral sanction or censure for its enforcement. So what happens that if somebody complains or ECI has taken suo moto that somebody has flouted the moral code of conduct, they will ask for reply. Now there are two options. First, accept your mistake and give an unconditional apology. Second is just you will give a rebuttal that no, allegations are false. We are not involved in breaching of MCC. In that case, if ECI finds that you are guilty, it can give you a written censure from ECI. Now, what is the purpose of this written censure and how it is significant? See, this is a disapproval. A written censure is a written disapproval of your reply or your conduct by a constitutional body. So, any written criticism of your action will definitely draw attention of media, court, and public. So definitely, then you have to save your face and you have to give your explanation that why a constitutional body has scolded you and given you a written censure. So that is what the moral sanction is. So it is important, but there are many debates and there are many opinions that make give the MCC a statutory backing. Now, very important case regarding this model code of conduct is S. Subramaniam Balaji versus Government of Tamil Nadu, where Supreme Court held that pre-buys are against the basic tenet of free and fair election. Further, it also opined that leaders should refrain from making false and empty promises. They should they should clearly define that what are the financial arrangements through which they are going to achieve these promises. So these were the guidelines. There is another important case, that is Ashwini Kumar Upadhyay versus Union of India, which is listed in Supreme Court, and it is about the distribution of freebies during the campaign. So verdict is not given yet, but this is another important case, that is Ashwini Kumar Upadhyay case, which talks about the model code of conduct. Now let us take up the question. First statement says that it is a set of instructions issued by Ministry of Home Affairs. Now this is an incorrect statement. Second statement says it derives its power from Representation of People Act. No, there is no statutory backing. Third statement says it is announced 30 days before the date of election. No, again incorrect statement. It comes into force immediately after the declaration of date. So none of the statements are correct. So our answer would be D, that is none. Now the second topic for prelims discussion is based on this photograph, which was taken in Navi Mumbai and captures the flamingos. You can see the bright pink color, and that is what is striking about these species. And flamingos are migratory birds. The natural habitat involves entire America, including the Caribbeans, plus Africa and Eurasia. And at present, the IUCN Red Book data list consider them as of least concern. The behavior involves the feeding habits. They feed on algae, crustaceans, and small fish, and they form a large colonies during breeding season, and they build mud nest in shallow water. So UPSC is always interested in asking question based on important ecological events or phenomena in news. As you can see that they have asked fall in population of species of butterflies, and they have asked you the consequences, likely consequences of it in the year 2070. Further, why this picture was captured? Because today is the 11th May, and today it is one of very important day, that is World Bird Migratory Day, the World Migratory Bird Day. Now, this is a biennial exercise. It is going to be celebrated on 11th of May and October 12th, considering both the hemisphere, considering their migratory cycle. It is more of a awareness program. And you can see here insects have been written. Why it is so? Because in this year's awareness program, what they are going to talk about is not just about the significance, utility, and threat to these migratory birds, but also the importance of insect in their food chain. Now, while traveling, these migratory birds, because of their natural instinct, their travel time and locations match the area where insect population suddenly takes a jump. And while moving to their destination, from their source to their destination, they feed on these insects, so they get energy, and also it helps in their migration. Now you know that insects prefer forest, grassland, and agricultural field. Now in agricultural field, we are using herbicide and pesticide definitely to contain the insects, but it is adversely impacting the food supply. We are converting the nature of grasslands for agriculture. Further, we are practicing deforestation also. All these things are impacting the availability of insects to these migratory species. So this year's the migratory bird day is focusing on awareness of about the interrelation between insects and these migratory bird species. Here you can see that it is going to be celebrated on 2 different days, aligning with the cyclic nature of bird migration in different hemispheres, like north and southern hemisphere. So here we have taken a practice question, that is first statement is it will be celebrated on a single day reflecting the cyclic nature. No, cyclic nature can be reflected only when it is a biennial exercise, and what we have discussed. Second statement say it focuses on the importance of insect for migratory birds. Yes, this year theme is this, importance of insects. Third is flamingos are solely dependent on insects for their food. Now this statement is incorrect because they feed on algae, crustaceans, and small fish also. So this statement is again incorrect. So how many of the above statements are correct? Answer is A, that is only one. Now, this news article, which featured on page number 12 of the Hindu newspaper. Now, there was a resolution in UN General Assembly regarding reconsideration of the membership for Palestine as a member state of UN General Assembly. Now, this, you may say, this, just a moment. Yes, this resolution was accepted. All around 143 nations voted in favor of this resolution. 25 countries abstained this resolution, while 9 voted against it. Now, this doesn't mean that Palestine has got the member status in UN General Assembly. Definitely, it is going to improve their rights. Like they will be allowed to sit in General Assembly alphabetically, and they can raise issues, but still they cannot vote on matters. So this is just a resolution which was adopted, and it has asked Security Council, UN Security Council, to take up this matter and favorably, like they are asking Security Council to take similar action that allow Palestine to become a full to take a full UN membership. Now, international organizations are important from the perspective of UPSC examination. As you can see, in 2019, they have asked a question based on AIIB, that is Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. So we will take up a practice MCQ based on the permanent membership in the United Nations. Now, just quickly see what happens that if an interested country who wants to gain membership of United Nations, they will give an application stating that they are ready to accept or adhere to all the norms that has been listed in the Charter of United Nations, and this application will be given to the Secretary General. And who can apply? It is open for all peace-loving states that accept the obligation contained in UN Charter. Okay. Now, once this application is given to Secretary General, he will transfer this application to the UN Security Council. UN Security Council, where it will be voted. Out of 15 members, 9 votes are required to get it attested or get it approved by UNSC. Another condition it should not be vetoed by any of the P5 countries. That is those countries, the 5 countries who have the veto power. So they should not vote against it. Otherwise, the proposal would be vetoed then and there. Apart from this, 9 votes are required. Then it will come to UN General Assembly, where it will be put for the voting, where 2/3 majority would be required to accept that country as a full member of the United Nations. So here, this process is not in question here. In news, UN Assembly has taken a resolution that UNSC should also think in a positive manner to include Palestine as a full-time member. So let us take up today's question. First question says first statement says membership is open to all other peace-loving states that accept obligation. Correct. Second says General Assembly shall decide by 2/3 majority present and voting. Again correct. Third statement says South Sudan has become the latest entrant in UN apparatus. Yes, it is correct. In 2011, South Sudan is the latest or recent entrant in the United Nations. Fourth statement says since the establishment of United Nations, only one country has been expelled from it. Now, this is a correct statement because United Nations has expelled only one country, that is Republic of China, the name of Taiwan. It was expelled from United Nations, and in place of it, it was replaced by People Republic of China. So this statement is also correct. So our answer would be D, that is all 4. That brings us to the last question of today's discussion. Now, New Space India Limited has released a request for qualification for the production of LMV3 to boost its production capacity for the next gen lifting rockets, that is launch vehicle Mach 3. UPSC has been asking questions based on developments in the space research and space science. As you can see, in 2014, it has given various missions and asked you to identify the correct matching options, that the aim of these missions. So we have taken up a question based on LMV3. Now, LMV3 is a heavy lift launch vehicle of ISRO, and for the purpose of launching the satellites in geosynchronous transfer orbit in a cost-effective manner. Definitely, if it is a next gen, it must have a better payload capacity than the predecessor, that is GSLV, and its capacity is 400 kg. Now, it is a 3-stage rocket. First stage is solid propellants are there. Then the second stage is liquid stage, and the third stage is cryogenic stage. Now, primarily designed to launch communication satellites into geostationary transfer orbit or geosynchronous transfer orbit. It is also due to launch crewed mission under Indian Human Space Flight Program, the LMV3. Now it is also it was used to launch the CARE, which was a space capsule recovery experiment module, Chandrayaan 2 and Chandrayaan 3. And Gaganyaan would be the first crewed mission under Indian human space flight program, which is planned to be launched through LMV-3. So let us take a practice MCQ. You have to identify the correct statements. Statement 1 says LMV-3 is primarily designed to launch a spacecraft in geostationary orbit. Now this is incorrect because it is designed to launch it into geosynchronous transfer orbit, that is GTO. Second statement says it is a two-stage launch vehicle. Again an incorrect statement because it is a three-stage launch vehicle. Third statement says LMV has launched India's space capsule recovery experiment module, that is CARE. Now this is a correct statement. So as you had to find the correct ones, our answer would be A, that is only one. Now here is the answer for the practice question that we have taken up regarding India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. As I told you, it is a very important project from the perspective of India, Middle East as well as Europe. And it was an MOU was signed on the sidelines of the G20 summit in New Delhi. An MOU was signed between the countries, namely India, US, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, France, Germany, Italy, and European Union. So here Qatar was not there. Secondly, United Kingdom was not there. So your answer would be A, that is 1, 2, 4, and 5. That's all from today's session. If you have any doubt, you can drop your question in our comment box. Our team will respond to you. And if you like our initiative, do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and do share the video with your friends. Thank you so much.